Testing, testing.
The Bluetooth.
Testing. Testing.
Device is ready to pair.
Testing. Testing. Peace, brother. Testing. Testing.
The Bluetooth device is ready to pair. The Bluetooth device is connected successfully. Device is ready to pair. The Bluetooth device is connected successfully.
Testing. 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 Yo, 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 yo. Testing. 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 Testing, 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 testing. Kelly, everything down over there. Testing, 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 testing. Okay, I think we're good. Testing, testing, testing. All right. Testing. Testing, testing. Oh, let me know when we're streaming. Are we streaming? Okay, cool, cool.
We want to welcome you to TNAT's Sunday meeting. We welcome you to the Temple of New African Thought And this is our fellowship. It's usually led by Dr. Whitaker. And there's a few of us here today, but that doesn't mean that the presence of the ancestors and the high evolved spirits are not here with us. So I'm going to open up with a song that was written by Doug Karn. I don't have any music, but I'm going to sing it anyway. Arise and shine, beautiful people, arise. Arise in the light of God's wisdom. Beautiful people, arise. Your time has come. Beautiful people, arise. Create your ancestors' vision. Go back to your old time religion. Shine in the light of God's wisdom. Beautiful people, arise. Your time has come. You better be true to yourself. You must learn to define truth and take pursuit of that which is real. You better see what you can do about getting yourself together. If our nation's to be strong, we gotta be prepared for any kind of weather. On your God, life is full of games. Keep in mind that it is all the same. And then you hear a voice taking you way, way back. Yes. And then you see the glory of your past. Work and strive for that which lasts. Kings and queens arise. It's time to realize. It's time to visualize. Beautiful people arise, yeah. Beautiful people and shine, yeah. Beautiful people arise.
Libation time. It's working. Okay. And first of all, libation is a ritual. And the purpose of ritual is to create harmony between the human world and the world of the Creator. Between the Creator, the ancestors, and nature. The ritual of libation reflects a belief that ancestors maintain a spiritual connection with the living and can influence their lives. As our ancestor Maya Angelou has always said, the greatest gifts are the blessings of the past. So let us thank those who came before us. Now, when you hear me say the word Ashe, which is a Yoruba word meaning it is done or so be it, you simply respond with Ashe. What is Okay, we now pour to that great ancestor Akhenaten, the famous pharaoh of the glorious 18th dynasty, who wrote the majestic poem Hymn to the Aten, or Hymn to the Sun, which pointed to the fact that sunlight is the main reason for the growth of plants and greenery on the earth. Without the sun, the earth would freeze. And in physics terminology, the sun's ultraviolet radiations are invisible to the naked human eye, which means the visible world is the invisible organization of energy. So we ask this ancestor to be with us, to bless us, and to renew us for struggles ahead. Ashe.
Ashe. Ashe.
We now pour to that great Senegalese scholar, Dr. Cheikh Anta Diop, whose theory that ancient Egyptians were black was laughed at. But recent research has proved Diop to be correct. The criminal triumph of falsehood over truth is the evil which shaped after Jup pledged himself to avenge. So we ask this wonderful ancestor to be with us, to bless us, and to renew us for struggles ahead. Ashe.
Ashe. Ashe.
We now pour to that great ancestor, the freedom fighter, Ella Baker, civil rights and human rights activist, who said, "We who believe in freedom cannot rest until it comes. We who believe in freedom cannot rest until it comes. Dare to struggle, dare to win." We ask this ancestor to be with us, to bless us, and to renew us for struggles ahead. Ashe.
Hey, Ashe.
We now pour to that great ancestor, Toni Morrison, famous novelist and editor, who stated, "If you can only be tall because someone else is on their knees, then you have a serious problem." And white people have a very, very serious problem. We ask this ancestor to be with us, to bless us, and to renew us for struggles ahead. Ashe. We now pour to the great ancestors Amiri Baraka, writer in poetry, drama, fiction, essays, music criticism, who said, the artist's role is to raise the consciousness of the people. The artist's role is to raise the consciousness of the people, to make them understand life, the world, and themselves more completely. So we ask this ancestors to be with us, to bless us, renew us for struggles ahead. Ashe.
Ashe. Ashe.
We now pour to the great ancestor James Baldwin, the writer who I met at Hunter College, and civil rights activist who garnered acclaim for his essays, novels, plays, and poems, and who brilliantly stated from the 1965 Cambridge University debate with conservative William F. Buckley Jr., "It comes as a great shock around the age of 5 or 6 or 7 to discover the flag to which you have pledged allegiance along with everybody else has not pledged allegiance to you." Isn't that right, Colin Kaepernick? So we ask this ancestor to be with us, to bless us, to renew us for struggles ahead. Ashe.
Ashe.
We now pour to that great ancestor Bell Hooks, author, educator, and social critic, who uttered, "To truly love, we must learn to mix various ingredients like care, affection, recognition, respect, commitment, and trust, as well as honest and open communication." We ask this ancestor to be with us, to bless us, and to renew us for struggles ahead. Ashe.
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 Amani Nama Penzi. That means peace and love.
Ashe. Ashe. Okay. Thank you, Baba. Thank you, Mama. What you can do now is, if there's anyone who has something they would like to share, a thought, an idea, a poem, something they want to contribute, an affirmation, or what have you, this is the time. Boo Jamal, you look like you're working on something over there. Are you working on something to share, or are you working on something? Okay. All right. Oh, you need the mic. Is it? Are you saying play it? Oh.
Can I read? Can I play it?
You can. It should, if it comes through, so the people can hear it. Yeah.
Okay.
What platform is it? Oh, you guys.
Decades and you still performing around the way? I at least thought you'd been on Broadway or a national stage. My nostrils flared. I shifted in my seat. I adjusted my glasses. I said, "What you say to me?" She said, "I'm just saying, more than 20 years years should probably bring you fame. I said, well, the fact that I'm still in demand leaves me amazed. I'm grateful. I looked at sis again. There was no scales, no sharp talons, but it was a little smoke on her tongue. She was hateful. She said, how old are you? I took a long look around the room. I was hinting at sis to go on and move. I was trying not to be rude. I said, I'm in my early 40s. She said, true. I don't see no ring. I said, no, baby girl, not yet. She said, oh, so you ain't meet nobody who wanted to take you off the market? I said, well, of the few men that I dated, there was one I thought I would be with for life, but it didn't work out that way. She said, another independent woman who can't find her Mr. Right. I said, sis, you want to fight? But she laughed at my offense. Instead of falling back, she leaned in. She said, you sitting here like you ain't got no friends. At least tell me you got some kids. I said, I don't have no time for this. My life is beautiful the way that it is. She said, oh, you one of them. I said, one of who, friend? She said, you the type to meet a grim reality with toxic positivity. You sitting there like you never wanted to be mommy or wifey. I said, you're talking to a woman who has a radical acceptance for whatever God has for me. I said, honestly, I'm at peace. And I remembered I didn't even have to be in this woman's vicinity. I started to gather my things up quickly. I said, for the record, I didn't enjoy your company. But since you forced yourself upon me, the least you can do is tell me your name. Sis gonna say same. I said, same as what, girl? Stop playing. She said, same as the woman that I'm talking to, boo. She said, sis, I'm you. I'm the dark corners of your brain. I give voice to what your subconscious be saying. She said, you met a lot of hurt people who wanted you to feel the same. You used to ignore it, but now in the quiet corners of your day, you start to regurgitate all of the negative things they used to throw your way. And she said, look around, sis, I'm not even here. But I'm glad that you can hear your inner thoughts really are that rude. You need to get to therapy and get them people's opinions up off of you. Because I know your life is beautiful, but the question is, do you? She said, right now, you sounding like your own biggest hater. And I wanted you to know that until you let their opinions go, you are the only dragon that needs slaying. Thank y'all.
Very superstitious writings on the wall. Very superstitious letters about to fall. 13-month-old baby broke the looking glass. 7 years of bad luck with the things in your past. When you believe in things that you don't understand, and you suffer superstition away. Yeah. Very superstitious. Wash your face and hands. Let me go the problem. Do all that you can. Keep me daydream. Keep me going strong. You don't want none saving. Sad is the song. When you believe in things you don't understand, when you suffer that you don't understand in yourself. Supposed to shine and queen. No.
Dr. Clark told us that we out-pope the Pope, black people. We out Muhammad. Now extend that to say we out Hindu Mahatma Gandhi. We out Scientology L. Ron Hubbard. We out devotion every tradition. Let me say it again. I'll extend it to say that we out Hindu Mahatma Gandhi. We out Scientology L. Ron Hubbard. We outdo the devotion of every tradition, except our own. I'll serve as DJ today too. I thank everybody for coming before, and we'll get into it. We kind of get it moving and find old fashioned. The pieces are still sinking. But I'm gonna go back to what Dr. Clark said, because we stand on our elders' shoulders. He said that black people will out-pope the Pope. Bob, say it again.
We have now has black ancestry.
And out Muhammad. I say we would do anything. He got black ancestry, and that so does everyone else on this earth. Yeah, and so does everyone else on this earth. So that becomes another myth that we speak about. And so I've been thinking about this. We're going to have a myth series because we, people in general, but specifically us black African people, we hold on to myth like we're running out of them. We hold on to myth in a way, and in fact, we can't even call it myth. We hold on to belief as if it's factual. If we knew a thing was myth, I think we'd be more productive. So I put here, we have mastered the ritual of other people's myths while remaining estranged from our own medicine. We've memorized scripture, but we've forgotten the sound of spirit. We know doctrine, but we've lost our relationship with the unknown. We know doctrine, but we've lost our relationship with the unknown. And now some of us call ourselves spiritual. But what we really mean is, I want the comfort of meaning without the discomfort of mystery. I want the comfort of meaning without the discomfort of mystery. I say real spirituality is not a comfort blanket. It is a confrontation. It asks, can you still stand when nothing is certain? Can you love without proof? Can you walk with spirit without needing to name it? Can it just be? Can we just be? Because at the end of the day, faith is not clinging to what you were taught. Faith is a sacred courage to let go. Faith is not clinging to what you've been taught, but it is the sacred courage to let go. And today, we're not here to defend myths. We're here to discern them. Which myths still serve us, and which are just out of fear, dressed in the clothes of what we call God, the God of our imagination. I was going to play Dr. Ben, but he a little too rough. That's my, Yeah, so I say, you know what, I'm gonna keep it a little safer. If you think I'm hard, just go listen to Dr. Ben. Ray Hagen and Dr. Ben Harder. I've had the privilege of, being with my father and experiencing Dr. Ben as a child. I've also had the experience as a young adult, younger adult to now, of having been in relationship with Dr. Ray Hagen's. And there's some things that Dr. Ben says that I think we just miss. We act like he didn't say it. And I think it's essential that we confront it. I say, leave now, because this is a next level conversation. If you ain't ready for a next level conversation, this might not be the space. And that's okay. Because I tell people when they want to have these conversations, are you sure you want to have that conversation? You like, what's going on here? It's about stretching. I could be all wrong. Let's just go there. I could be all wrong. To be honest, I don't think so. Because the reality is I'm not claiming to know a thing. But many of us claim to know every goddamn thing. And it is through the myths that we tell ourselves or other people have taught us and we hold on to.
Because I'm not omniscient. I mean, not dare you.
You say you're not omniscient? You're not?
Just joking.
Okay. I didn't think you were in the first one. So again, we're going to have a discussion. And today's particular presentation is entitled Faith Beyond Familiar. Religion, spirituality, and the fear of the unknown. I have some notes here, but I tend to like to go off, go away from them. But we'll try to see what I can do a little balanced approach here. So some themes that I want to discuss today. Religion is not fact. I don't care which one you're talking about. None of them. Myth. I'm saying religion is not fact. It is a metaphor. That's how I look at it. So can it be beneficial? Absolutely. But is it being as beneficial as it can be? I think it depends on who you ask. Those who control you with it, or those who have tapped into it to control themselves. We have to, or we don't have to, but I suggest, argue, maintain that we look at things for really what they are. And I've kind of stayed away from these conversations. So I say, this is not a safe space. This is a sacred space. Because we got too many safe spaces where you can't have real conversation But if you really want to be honest, religions have pillaged this society and the world. It has hurt people. Has it helped people? You don't even have to tell me that. It has done some things for people. But at the same time, it has hurt people. And I see how they hurt people and how people believe in these things that perpetuate this disorder that we have in our society. And that's one of the real reasons I wanted to have this conversation. Because as a therapist, I have to work with people where they are. And that's a lot of hard work when you see people who believe in Santa Claus in the name of Jesus. And they think that their interpretation is more accurate than their partners. They're in the same faith tradition, same book or books, but have different interpretations. And then we want to argue mythology as if somebody can be right about it. I say, like, some people like, let's go into the book to bring to help people understand. You know what? At some point, I think that's a waste of time. Because the book is no more powerful than you. It's no more you and me and us and we can create our own myths, our own culture. In fact, as many say that religion is the edification of someone's culture or a group of people's culture. So if we are talking about dismantling white supremacy, we have to look at all of this. And I am telling you that religion itself, and I'm not saying there's no variation in religion, there's a both and in all of this thing. But the reality is we utilize that to stay stuck in things that are not serving us, things that keep us, pardon my word, retarded. And what I mean by retarded is it stunts growth and development. It retards your development. If you look at it in a very literal sense, you can take something from anything. But when we over here looking at Jonah as actually being in the belly of a whale, we got problems. Hold up, Bob.
You know, me growing up a Christian myself, looking at my father was a real good man. He believed what he really believed in, and that was okay. And he had morals about what he believed in. And why I'm saying my father, because at the age I met him, he was strictly walking that Christian walk. He wasn't just talking it. You understand what I'm saying? So we are so, I'm gonna use the word spiritual without having any kind of being or any kind of religion hook to it. We are spiritual people, so we had to hold on to something. The disconnect we got from even in Africa, leaving Africa and coming here, we had to have something to hold on to. And I think by us being spiritual, we like go to this or that or this. And like you say, we make it more real than real can be because of our spirituality. You know what I'm saying? I mean, our deep spiritual sense of being. Let me say that.
Yeah, I think that we do it also because we lack material.
Of course.
So we have to tap into something that is unreal because we don't feel we have enough with that which is real. And spirituality in itself can be real. But lots of us say things are not spiritual because it's not religious, or it's not a certain posture or a certain time of day you eat. And I'm not saying these things aren't beneficial, because we need discipline. And many of us tie to so many different systems that you talked about, Baba, because none of them are serving us. In a way, I'm talking about us. I ain't talking about you. That's the difference. If something has served you and you want to argue that it's real, because this is probably not how I want this conversation to go, but it's going. So, but if you want to argue that it's real because your experience, that's anecdotal evidence. Because you want to argue with a Muslim that his is not real, and a Christian because hers is not real, and an Ephod priestess that his or hers isn't real, and they can all tell you the same story why they think it's real, because it has helped them. It has helped me overcome this. It helps, so I know it's real. Well, okay, the other person from the other perspective had the same type of story. So that is not evidence that it's real. It's evidence that you believed in it enough that it helped change some of your thoughts and behaviors. And the thing is, we don't want to tap into our own. We don't want to be responsible enough to tap in our own inner self.
That's why we say the Bible is the word of God. Yet I didn't know God was in the publishing business.
Say it again, Bible.
That's why people say the Bible is the word of God. I said I didn't know that God was in the publishing business. Men write books.
So real quick, if I can, to show you what we're talking about here. It was two guys that meet every year. You know, one would put flowers on the grave, and one would put a table of food there, you know, blanket and stuff. They met every year because he was doing the same thing, honoring the dead. So one year, the guy said, I'm going to ask this man today. So the Christian man, he asked the brother, he said, I just want to know one thing, man. He said, we've been meeting here for many years, and you put that food out there, the tea out there, the blanket out there, and everything. When you think somebody going to come up there and eat that food? He said, the same time somebody come up and smell the roses. You see what I'm saying?
Well, you know, Bob, what you're expressing, putting out there is correct. However, my take on this is that first you have to learn how to learn.
Well, that's your answer for everything.
Yeah.
So, say that again, though.
First, you have to learn how to learn.
Your take to the entire thing. I'm trying to follow you.
My take on what you're saying, from my perspective, is that first you have to learn how to learn.
How does that relate to this?
By coming to TNET, by you dispelling the myths, by we going through this in this sacred space, you know, breaking it down, building it up. So that's a part of learning. You're learning how to learn.
Yeah.
You get it or you don't get it?
I mean, I do get it, but I do think we have to learn how to learn, and I think we have to learn to discern even more, because lots of us learn all types of ish. Y'all know what that means, right? We learn all types of stuff, but learning is not enough. You gotta be able to discern what is true, what is real from unreal. And I'm not speaking this real, like, I'm not speaking philosophical. And what I mean is, because anything can be real if you want to believe it. But I'm talking about literally real. You know what I mean? Like, tangible and non-tangible. Like it's okay. Getting back to my point here. Some things we just don't know. This is what I want to talk about. Again, faith beyond familiar. Religion, spirituality, and the fear of the unknown. The fear of the unknown is that we don't want to not know. We want to believe we know, so we listen and read things and act like we know things that is impossible to know. It is impossible to know. There's no evidence. And if everybody's faith is real, and somebody, well, everybody's faith is real. No. It is real to them, I get that. But I am not saying on a philosophical level. I am saying that we are afraid of the unknown. We're afraid to know that we don't know what will happen once we transcend. And we don't know the power of the human mind. The human mind can believe anything you want to believe. And I don't argue with people about their beliefs per se. Because look, people are like, well, this happened. Well, look, I know things about the mind. And the mind is the memory is the worst witness. The memory, there's all types of research on how poor the memory is and how easy it is for us to be influenced by what is going on in our surroundings, our dreams, our television shows, what media says, what we read, what we ingest. So when people tell me, a brother told me that he saw a dog walking on his hind legs and was going around the neighborhood boxing people when he was a young man. And I'm not going to argue with him that didn't happen. I mean, for all intents and sense, he typically he's not like psychotic or nothing, but he truly believes that he saw this dog walking his hind legs, going around the neighborhood, boxing a German Shepherd, boxing people. I be one of the times if some of them kangaroos are AI, because they be popping muscles and they push the man, and you know what I mean. But the reality is, so the thing is, the mind can believe anything it wants to believe, and the reality is, I can believe some stuff, and guess what? I choose to believe some stuff. I choose to believe some stuff that I know probably ain't real. Sometimes I choose to believe it, and sometimes I don't. Because sometimes the belief can get you over a moment. That's like any medicine. But you don't use medicine all the time. You can go OD. And I think that we OD on our religious and what we call spiritual systems. Because we out-pope the Pope and out Muhammad. And I'm saying this thing because it's horrible in our relationships, in our community. We fight about things that are unreal. And you know, I sit back and I don't fight with them because it's kind of like look at people. But sometimes you want to have these conversations. But the reality is, these systems are really, really, really disserving us. Let me ask y'all a question. What myths about God or spirit did you inherit that shaped any fears in you? I'm gonna put in the I statement. What myths about God or spirit? Let me say, I'm not even gonna say myths because people don't believe they got myths. What you believe, what do you believe about God or spirit that shaped your mind to have fears?
Also being raised Christian, a lot of condemnation and judgment as opposed to love. And then also a belief that there's an eternal punishment. And how can we even embrace that concept if nobody's ever come back to tell us that there's an eternal punishment? And that we would have to choose a side. We would have to choose this if we wanted paradise. But if we chose that, then we were going to suffer eternally. The other thing too is when I look at old writings, how anything black is always demonized, which kind of made me cautious when studying and investigating traditional African religions, because of the brainwashing that all of us have been exposed to in one form or another about our blacktivity. And what I've learned, though, just living, is that everything negative has to be reversed because it was done to keep us at a certain level. Because when you look in Europe and you look at their museums, all of our things are in there. They understand our power a lot better than we do. They understand our origins a lot better than we do. And so they had to conceal the truth so that we would know who we are and they could maintain dominance. But just what they put out there could cause a lot of people fear. And I know it did for me. And yeah, I'm complete.
Yeah, I had a lady, you know, what had me actually get more into studying is that my father reared me up in I'm going to say a space that allowed me to think. So, and my mother taught me a lot. My father did too, but I kind of like separate these things. They have crossovers in the Zen diagram, you know. But my father and my mother taught both ways. But my mother just taught me how to love and care and do all these things and take care of your neighbor and take care of your friends and your family and all that type of thing in real time. Of course, my father was there because they had to do things together. And so I got to the age of like 20, what am I, 24, 25 at this time. And I think I may have shared this story with some of you have heard it before. But I'm getting into this real estate business, and I'm teaching people how to do it. I'm taking this African sister down to Virginia. I'm driving her down there for her, not me, but for her own edification and development. And then she asks me, Dennis, do you believe that Jesus Christ died for your sins and rose again on the third day or something like that? And I said, no. So like I don't believe that, you know. It doesn't necessarily make sense. I mean, that he died, you know, he rose again and all this type of thing. Do I believe that? And she said, you going to hell? And I said, what? In my mind, I've heard that. It's one thing to hear a thing and then be confronted with it. You know what I mean? Like, huh? Like, I've been to church before and all that type of thing. My grandmother I've been baptized even. My father let us get baptized. That's what, you know, he let us think, you know. He let me listen to trap hip hop too. But what I'm saying is, so they allow some level of freedom, right? But still, he was teaching, you know, my father was like, look, that white man stuff, this, you know, all that type of thing too. But still, do this. So I'm thinking like, so I'm literally in this car with this lady driving down. Like, so are you saying I'm going to hell even though I'm a good person? That I help people? That I do less than what my Christian, like literally, I know that I am more disciplined in many ways, probably more than most Christians. You're going to have to be, well, look, I can't even say king because, you know what I'm saying? It's gonna say it's gonna be hard to be more disciplined than I am. I'm just gonna be honest. And so I'm and helpful. So I'm thinking, like, so I'm trying to reason in my brain that you say I'm going to hell, but a person who can kill somebody, a person who's a fraud, a person who does all types of things to other people in negative ways can just say, I believe, and go to heaven. So I'm in my mind, like, trying to reason with her. She like, it does not matter, Dennis. It does not matter. Dennis, you must, what is it, profess or confess or profess in Christ. And I said, I don't really believe that. And then, I mean, I saw the concern in her face. I saw the concern in her face. And I've never ever experienced that, like in real life. You know, it's one thing to go and you hear about it type of thing, but I'm literally sitting here with this sister that I'm helping her probably more than her Christian persons, her brethren. I said, so you tell me I can't just be good? No, if I can do all the good, she said, in this world and hardly do anything that seem bad. I'm talking about even follow scripture. I can follow scripture very closely and more than she or somebody else. But one thing I have to do is profess that I believe that Jesus Christ died and rose again on the third day. And his birthday changes every year. This is the type of stuff I learned. Like his birthday changes every year. Like, I mean, or something like that, right? The resurrection, and sometimes it's May and sometimes it's April, and sometimes it's all that, right? But then I'm going to hell. And God made it so confusing for me to really believe in this if I have any little, and God gave me this mind. So God set me up. Did God set me up to use my brain? Well, they say lean not to your own understanding, because you got to have a spiritual mind. I done had all these type of conversations, and you really look at people and Baba.
I would just say that for me, I grew up Christian in a Christian household, and what I got from growing up in a Christian household is a moral foundation.
Say it again.
Is a moral foundation. I feel like I got a moral foundation, right? But I know my family would drag me to church every Sunday, and inherently in my spirit, in the depths of my soul, I felt like something was wrong. Like it was some hypocrisy. But I felt compelled being a part of my family, because you don't talk back to do what they tell you to do.
Mm-hmm.
So I remember coming down the stairs of our house in West Baltimore, and right when you make the pivot, because there's like a turn, there's this picture, this image of what's supposed to be Jesus. And I would walk by it, and I would just have these feelings like, that's not true, because the Bible and Revelations, the preacher even said it himself, that Jesus had woolly hair and bronze tone. And I would grapple with this, but I dare not mention it, or because for fear that I would be disciplined.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So I held on to these fears, and what I would get at, how it impacted me, is guilt, having this inherent sense of guilt. Because I had feelings like I wanted to go and explore other things, but I couldn't. And I felt like I had this feeling that if I had tried to explore other religions or what have you,
mm-hmm.
that I might be sanctioned. Not just by them, but I began to believe that. I remember when I made the pivot from Christianity to another spiritual teaching, and I said, well, I'm probably gonna get struck by lightning or something.
Mm-hmm.
But I kept on traveling. I just felt free, more free,
mm-hmm.
freedom.
Mm-hmm.
And then I began to challenge and question like some of the things that you talk about. And I realized this myth, because divinity is not external. It's within the core of your being.
Mm-hmm.
You are like an onion. If you peel back, at the very core of who you are,
mm-hmm.
is divinity.
Mm-hmm.
You do not have to look external for the divine, because he is within you, or it. I wouldn't say he, because it's of a level that it has no sex.
So that essence is within you.
The essence of the creator is within you. It never leaves you.
Mm-hmm.
You have to commune with it.
Mm-hmm.
And in my view, that's what meditation is. When you go into deep meditation, you can reach back and get to that divine point and get inspiration.
Yeah, I would add on to that by saying that due to this fear-based culture and society that we fall within or find ourselves in, is it makes it very difficult for us to tap into that core essence within us, because there's so many messages, ideas, imagery that is implanted in us to not look within. And also, I want to also suggest that from my standpoint, two things to get back to this unknown thing and then come back. So spirituality, to be spiritual, is to become, this is one aspect of it. It's not the whole definite. To be spiritual, truly spiritual, is to become uncomfortable comfortable with the unknown, because what I'm arguing, even though people call themselves spiritual, they're really still religious. They've just brought in a lot of these different ideas from different spiritual systems, and none of us can escape them because we're in a Christian culture. So we all deal with them daily. You know what I mean? Like, you can be atheist, but you still have Christian residue. You know what I mean? So we believe a lot of things, and it tells us how we must do things. Even this phenomenon around men and women, and how men are supposed to lead and how women are supposed to do this. And I'm not saying there's no benefit to culture of how one orders their household. But when you believe God has ordained it, there leaves no room for you to create a culture of your own and adapt the culture for the times and the needs of your people. Because this is why many black men are killed. They have John Henry syndrome. And they literally are working themselves to death because they only feel as good as their job. And you have sisters, and things are changing in both ways, but you have sisters that feel like they, especially if they are deeply cultural, if they can't perform certain things. In fact, it's held up by other people. Because I've taught the sisters, and because they could not give birth, they said that they are sinners. The church has told them that they are sinners, and that is why God has not given you a baby. You know what I mean? Or that's why you lost your baby. Because the people don't mean that they can mean some harm. But for the most part, when you are delusional or delusioned by superstition, as Baba Stevie Wonder says, you believe these things and you will die by these things. And it will keep us in a dysfunctional way of being and engaging with one another. You got something?
What is a way you think that could, how can I say it, impact? What is a way that you think can impact a wider range of people to focus and be deeper into their self or become aware? How can you do that in a bigger way? You think?
Y'all got any answers for that? When you say bigger way,
Where,
any answers? Well, let me just start by saying it's going to be hard work, right? Because we have been conditioned. It's almost like saying, how do you get black people to love themselves? Because we've been taught, and I'm just giving an analogy, we've been taught so long that we are inferior, that even when we try and we know better, we still struggle with it. I was listening to something Dr. Welsing was saying earlier today, and she said, that little, and it goes with some things I've been saying, and I'm like, wow, okay. I always like to go back to some of my elders, and I said, whoa, okay, I'm on the right path. Because she said, look, no matter how hard you try, we're going to still be struggling with it. But one way I would say is, when we get it, it's going to be a constant battle, because we're fighting a society that's ruling people by one. I taught out there in Western Pennsylvania, and they are racially Christian or Christianly racist. And they believe that God has ordained us as inferior even. But getting back to the question, I think with all things equal, we do have to do something different to impact our children's thinking. And even not your own children, because children they have access to so many things, and children don't necessarily have to believe what their parents have are shooting or spitting. You know what I mean? In fact, a lot of them don't. But I think that there's a lot of information out here for children and youth and adolescents and all but they still, in fact, people are becoming less religious. But the problem I have is people becoming more religiously spiritual. And what I mean is they just took the title off and they still doing the same thing. They made their own thing up, you know, and they still think that they know things they don't know. I'm sorry. You people like we look, I'll be honest with you. I'm be very frank in here right now. I don't think nobody has powers. I don't think nobody have magic power. I just don't. I don't see where it's working for us. I mean, I know we feel like it. You know, I think we got gifts. But all this seers, and I mean, I think I can see some things too. But I mean, I just don't, I'm not, I think the language is metaphor. So we use language, we spiritualize things that different strengths we got. And sometimes we believe that we got more of that power than we truly got. Because there's a little arrogance enough to think that we really have these special powers. We can challenge it, but I haven't seen where it works for people. Everybody can tell you everything about you and everything about their future, but they can't tell you about themselves. And they really be wrong, and people be wrong when they say so. No, what I'm saying is we have to put a clean glass out there. Because there are people out here who are waking people up on social media and things like that. But a lot of those are just corrupt too. But anyway, y'all go ahead, help. How about I'm a little scattered.
I would just say, I think any change starts from within. So I think one of the things I found in life, if you demonstrate a certain thing consistently, people will notice it and begin to train it in that direction. So if you have, I mean, that's the only thing I could suggest.
I like that. Also, if you demonstrate something enough, and then also I think we have to show how it's working for you, because some things just ain't working for people. And religion and our spiritual stuff, some of that stuff ain't working for us. We have to we sometimes we believe this stuff so much until we having a breakdown. Black people, more specifically my people, will do anything to not deal with reality. My father, let me tell you something. My father has so many people coming to him because look how he look. Oh, well, I look kind of like that today, right? But I kind of look like that today. Maybe I should keep these clothes on. But you know, but he still got this essence going on, right? And he's very logical too at the same time. So sometimes people come to him for mental health matters, and he's like, "No, that's my son. Go ahead talk." And I'm not saying he's not saying that he can't assist you in some kind of way as an elder or a baba or whatever. What they really, with my estimations, Bob, is they want you to become their guru, and you become their witch doctor or their medicine man.
But you know what though? I worked in a barber shop, and when I first started getting conscious, you know how you like that dog been tied up, and now you just want to run wild. So I wanted to tell everybody, to answer your question. I wanted to tell everybody, and I want them to get on this train, you know, the spiritual train with me. And the more I talk, and I'll show I help some people, because some people came back and told me this. But the fight that I was fighting myself, because you don't see what I'm saying.
Yeah.
What was that movie? The brother had the sunshades on, and he seen aliens, and the other guy didn't see him. So when he put the glass on, he seen them. It's just that hard for to have our people to see something, because I look back at myself. When my transition came, it was like, oh man, I like what I'm feeling. I like what I'm reading, and it's kind of freedom, right? But at that same time, I had this right here, mama, daddy, teaching, and it was good too. So my thing was like, don't know what to do, right? So what would a good Christian do? I talked to God. I said, God, whatever it is, you say learn things. I said, I'm lacking this. I said, but at the same time, I don't know if I should go forward with it, because it's going against everything that I almost had been taught. And so what I did, I sat back and didn't do nothing for like several weeks. And this is my own little maybe mystery thing, right? But things kept coming to me about, what I was learning. Maybe because I was going that path anyway. But it's hard to do the transition of going over. And this is the last thing I said. What I did, once I did go over, I tried to go in every system that I could go into, every system, every belief system, to look for God, the true God. That's what I did. I went looking for the true God. And how I summed the whole thing up is that I found God. Actually, I did. In every belief system I went into, God was there. And they believed God was there. You understand what I'm saying? So that's how it is.
Baba, I wasn't finished. Let me see. But yeah, I think that we wait too long to really deal with what is real. So what I was getting to is this idea that we will deal with everything besides reality, because it's hard to deal, and plus we've been traumatized as a community. So we don't trust anything that we think is white, and everything we think is white is not white. And white people know that. Your oppressors know that. So they will play that on you as well. So what they will do is to go anything that seems magical. And I mean, I'm not debating what magic is and, influence and all that. But what I'm saying is, but we will look at, and people are dying out here. I sat here, I won't say names today, one time in one of our fellowships, and first, we like stuff that's superstitious. And I seen a brother say he was doing Reiki on another brother, and he told him he was healed from his condition. And I sat there, I was upset, I ain't gonna lie. Because, if y'all know me, I be a little easy, but I'm like, look at this. But I ain't gonna mess up everybody high. Because I know him for blowing people highs. I'm talking about when they taking a substance. They're like, my nickname is Manny. I was like, Manny, yo, you just blew my high, yo. So I'm trying to take people's superstitious highs all the time. But I'm sitting here, and I'm not saying don't try it. Go ahead, try it. But not here. I just look. Do that. Go. You know what I'm saying? Because it's enough places for that. It's enough places for that. But I sit here, and the brother had the nerve to tell the brother, "You are healed." And I mean, after his Reiki, like this brother needed a certain type of something treatment, and I don't know if the brother believed it. Maybe I'll ask him. Beyond Reiki, yes. I'm not saying Reiki doesn't have a placebo, an energetic, a touch impact it can't do with you. It can't help with you on an emotional level or somatic level. I'm not saying it doesn't have some type of.
Just got a question. What's Reiki?
So Reiki is look. Let Mama Fluky tell you. With the mic.
Reiki is a form of energy work where the practitioner is connecting with source, whatever that is to them, and then channeling that energy through their hands. They're not touching the body. It's just all energy work. And moving things in the body, just basically stuck circulatory areas. That's what you're doing.
And I'm like my father. My father might believe in that, but one other side is a both and. One thing he said, look, he's like, stop talking about me today. I get with my father, right? See, my father, although he into all that type of thing, one other thing I like about him is this. He said, look, even if that's true, I don't want you. Because what I realize, most people who are doing these things, they don't need to be taking no source and touching nobody else. Because most people are doing it because they are undisciplined. I talked about this thing for They became their own gurus. They went to these 3-day courses. I'm sorry. You mean to tell me you're gonna heal people of illnesses through this? And it only took 3 days? And then you also going. I had a sister who came to me once before. Let me be careful with this one. And she told me, oh God, that this person told them that they had a man coming back. Their husband was coming back. Let me just say it like that. A past relationship. And now just wait and do balance your chakras. And in August, he coming back. And I'm sitting here like, okay. I'm not going to sit up there and deny it. I'm talking about, this is my client, by the way. Hopefully they're not listening. But but I will talk to this particular person about this now. But not in real time. But I'm telling you, I see it already. People be playing with us. How the sisters say they play in your face. They be playing in our face. And some of us, we believe it. So it's not really playing. And it's not to say sometimes things don't happen. But my problem with us is that we look at the times that things seem to align, but we don't look at the many more times they probably didn't. I've had so many conversations over the years. I mean, I'm not going to go too far because we're going to talk about myths, all types of myths. And there's even this medicine myth. I'm talking about this. Look, we got herbs, so I know they do something. But they have limitations. And some of us wait too long to use what we would call the white man's medicine, which is not necessarily white man's medicine. And we be all messed up and jacked up. You said somebody have a question?
No, I just wanted to say, when I got into massage, I got into it because I had a sick child.
Mm-hmm.
And what I noticed was that I wasn't even going to get into massage.
Mm-hmm.
I just started working her little body, and I noticed that she would get better.
Mm-hmm.
So I had something tangible to see that massage could do something for the body.
Mm-hmm.
And it wasn't really so much the massage, the body was just being stimulated to do what it does naturally, and that's heal itself.
So if the body does it naturally, then perhaps we have to isolate the variables to see which variable actually brought about that change. I know we can do things. I'm not saying massage doesn't have its place, but I will argue and maintain that sometimes it's called, okay, let me give you an idea of what happens. Superstition. So look, the sun. There used to be like a person there. You know how we do it. We all pseudoscientists. So the sun would come around every day, and that time of day that computer would work. But then it'd go around, and then not into that time of day the computer works. So they thought in their minds that the sun had a direct correlation with their computer working or not working. So then they started trying to move and to reposition the computer. But that wasn't the problem. It had something I don't have an answer for it, but at some point that you realize that we make up all. I'm not saying you. I am saying you, but not saying. But that sometimes we have these things. It's good. Let's do these things. I think we should do holistic things because there's nothing wrong with massage. There's nothing wrong with activating energy or moving energy around or any of that. But I promise you, it can aid in things more than it can totally cure things, but even Western medicine is short because it does not see the person as a whole person. It doesn't give you hugs. It doesn't do massage lots of times. It doesn't do the things that are necessary. It doesn't talk about spirituality lots of times. It doesn't talk about these things that are very essential to human beings. So we are whole people, but the reality is, I think, so because what will happen, let me tell you why I think it's kind of dangerous. Because someone will hear you say that, And then they'll be like, you know what? I don't know what the issue was. But then they'll say, you know, this is what I'm going to do with my child because Feluke said this about mine. And they going to go and do it. And they will not go to see the person. And then they will end up dying because they're doing what Mama Feluke said. So to me, I don't really like, if we're going to be scientists, let's learn how to isolate variables. Because there's many factors to anything. It could be the way that the wind was blowing. It could be the music in the room. It could be all the above. But we have to learn how to do real experiments if we really want to start saying these things. Baba, I see you pondering. He coming.
And have the patience to do it.
Yes, and have the patience to do it. Yeah, and I would like to hear more about that. What you got? Did you have something else to say on that? Okay, thank you.
Yeah, me myself went through that. When I came down with RA, that's rheumatoid arthritis. All right. And I'm like a herbalist, right? I'm doing all the things. I'm reading about the needles. I'm reading about all the stuff to go with it. But what I didn't know is that what I know now is that rheumatoid arthritis can be helped by a lot of herbs. But that medicine you get from the doctor, that medicine helps. And what I'm saying is that the herbal medicine can't outrun rheumatoid arthritis. Okay? You're going to lose every time because rheumatoid arthritis, I'm just speaking on myself, it's fast. So I was trying to chase a dragon with a rabbit cure. You understand what I'm saying? So when I started to combine the two together, along with the Tai Chi, it's a big difference. But just saying I ain't taking that medicine, I found that out to be a no-no to myself. That's personal. Yeah, and I know that's real. But now I'm not knocking Tai Chi because I know when I flow, my body flow. I feel good. You understand what I'm saying?
And we need it.
Yeah, and we need all of that together.
Because people are sitting around depending on Western medicine as if they don't need to move. So it's a both and. Like people literally think they can take a pill for anything that keeps them from doing what they need to do. And they are. People are living longer because of pills, but the quality is horrible. But you can do both if you move. Your mental health, your physical health, all that can be better if you get up. But we can't deny the both and approach. You know what I mean? Some people are too reliant on one or the other. And let's go. So the suit and it sounds like this is medicine and it's off topic, but it's not. Because when you talk about holistic medicine, there's what they call holistic medicine or alternative medicine, what some people probably will call traditional medicine or indigenous medicine. There's no separation of the spirit with it. There's no, and hence, let me say there's no separation of the religion of that culture. So when you talk about Asian medicine, you're still talking about religion, your religious system that's a part of that. So it's not a separate thing. But at the same time, that is beautiful. It's beautiful, but it's not enough all the time. Sometimes it's enough because some people don't experience everything that everybody experiences. And perhaps if you did more of that and it was a way of life, we could rid off lots of things in a preventative way. But because we're trying to now come and utilize these things in a very acute sense, where there's acute disorder going on, meaning that its onset is strong, it's happening right now, and you need something more than that. This is something you probably need to do since you were a child. If you were doing Tai Chi as a child, you would probably learn how to regulate your stress levels and your stress hormones, and you'll be more flexible, and you'll be more have more coordination mentally and spiritually and physically. But you're doing it now as a preventative measure, and it's not going to be enough for everything. But it is enough for some things. It is enough if we can get the mental fortitude. I think we start as we're young, because we need those mind-body practices to help balance us. So, next question. Where am I clinging to certainty instead of listening for spirit? Where am I listening for certainty instead of listening for spirit? Discernment. I'm also going to say what I told somebody the other day, and they thought it needed examination. And I'll say this, Dr. Gregory says this thing. He says, I'm throwing a lot here, so pardon. I'm just going to say this and I'll ask the question again, but I like this statement. It says, if you don't examine your beliefs every now and again, your beliefs have you don't have them. So again, the question is, where am I clinging to certainty instead of listening for spirit? So what is it that your teachings tell you? Your way of understanding tells you about certain things. You're just, it's coming from that. I'll give you an example. Some of us struggle, again, as we spoke about earlier, with this idea that I'm going to go ahead and profess in things, even if I don't totally believe them or they don't totally make sense, because I don't want to go to hell.
That's a fear, right?
What'd you do?
Well, I think it's embracing something that you probably have been indoctrinated in, but it's a fear that you don't think to go outside of that and examine other trains of thought. It's like, for me, I'll go everywhere because I want to see if there's a consistent thread in different systems to pull it all together or to eliminate it. So I may be at the church one day, I may be at the KaiCon another day, I may be at a Yoruba ceremony. Not that I'm afraid of anything, but I want to see if there's a consistent pattern in all of those so-called spiritual systems.
So being open to everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's important to be open to everything. My challenge would be my reflex work. It's spiritual. So really, yeah, because I think from an African-centered way perspective, everything is spiritual. To me, spirituality is the relationships and everything that you have going on, versus this religious understanding is that, you have to do certain things to get, you gotta do certain things to get certain things. I love African tradition on a practical sense, but again, let me read this real quick, and I'm gonna come back because I think it makes sense, and we're not gonna be here too much longer. And because I read this some time ago, not this specifically, but I'm going to articulate what I've read in some places. Yeah, this even to the response that I was going to say, this will kind of tap into it. In many African spiritual traditions, myth is used not to deceive, but to develop. One such story passed down across several cultures speaks to how youth in a village were taught sacred myths as literal truth. The elders would say the sky is held up by 4 great ancestors whose hands never sleep. They would tell the river, they would tell of a river that could speak, of a lion that once flew. These stories were told with conviction. Surrounded by ritual, music, and dance, the children will repeat them, protect them, believe them. But then came initiation. During the initiation process, the youth were taken away from the village, sometimes for weeks, sometimes for months. They were tested physically, emotionally, spiritually. They were taught not just new information, but a new way of seeing. And then the truth came. One elder said, the lion did not fly, the river does not speak, but we taught you that because we were not just shaping your knowledge, we were shaping your soul. The story was never the end, it was the beginning. The story is the shell. We give you the seed. What had once been taken as fact was revealed as metaphor. But it was never a lie. It was a mirror, a guide, a container. Only the initiated could understand this. The uninitiated still argue about whether the lion flew. This is the danger of staying in literalism, mistaking the shell for the seed. And what am I saying here? And why I think it's essential? Because sometimes, maybe not in the cases here, but on most of the times I hear people are going around looking for the right, looking for the truth. And if you have to go and look for it, know that you'll never find it. If you have to go to this place and that place and this place, now you might find it one day, but what I realize, people typically are going around and around and around because for many reasons. I can't give one reason, but you'll never find it in these places. You'll find something that can resonate. You'll find another variation of a metaphor, and you'll find a variation of the same metaphor. You'll find a line in them. We don't even have to go any further. You will find it will be a hero's journey in most of the stories, the narratives, the metaphors. You will find a Christ-like figure. You will find a figure that come to redeem. You will find a figure that rose again. You will find a figure that was weak when he started. He went away. And you will find something like the something child. You'll find these stories, the prodigy child. You'll find these stories, but if there's none of them are correct. I mean, none of them are, let me see, all of them are correct. None of them are actual facts that really happened. Now, some variation, but they're heroes' journeys. You'll find it in the Native American traditions. You'll find it everywhere. There's no wrong or right.
It's the old saying then, right? Like this. Mythology never was, but always will be.
It's about meaning, as we started off today. It's about meaning making, understanding, painting pictures that's difficult for words to capture, because the unknown is difficult to put into words. Thank you. Come out. Mythology, the unknown is very difficult to put into words because you don't know. It's not real. I mean, no, it's real, but you don't know. There's many things that you're just not going to know. I think we have to come to be settled with what we will never know.
Now, I woke up one morning, they said the what's his name? The Dalai Lama?
Yes.
He was going to talk on death. Now, after I heard that, I stood up in the bed because I'm all in Tibet during this time, studying Tibet. I said, this man going to let me know exactly what's going on. He got on there and he asked that question about death. He said, one never, what did he say? He said, we all fear the unknown.
Mm-hmm.
I could have went back to sleep. Because that's true, right?
I have something interesting to share.
Mm-hmm.
It might tie into what you're saying. So I was talking to this young lady who's kind of like a mentee. And she says, Sister Faluke, my mother called me and told me she had a spiritual attack last night. I said, well, what happened? I wanted to know if it was in a dream state or it was in her physical body. And she said, no, she was dreaming that this huge snake was after her and it coiled up and it was ready to strike.
Mm-hmm.
But it was intercepted by a man that had a machete.
Mm-hmm.
And he severed the snake.
Mm-hmm.
I said, so what makes you think that the snake was after your mother? Is she involved socially with people that may be questionable? Or could the snake represent something else? Could the snake represent change? Could the man represent something else? But fixed in her mind, it had to have been an attack. And it's because of what spiritually we associate snakes with, you know, and what other cultures sometimes associate snakes with.
And that's interesting that you say that, because one, because you know, there's variation of what snakes represent. In some cultures it might be power, some of it is deceit, some of it sometimes is evil, right? Transformation is a circle, but say it again, wisdom. And then depending on what narrative you buy into, you will fight and die for it. Mom,
only your mom would know, because she knows what's surrounding her. She knows what her thoughts are. She knows what's been happening to her. So I can't dissect that because it didn't happen to me. But the attachment that she had with it, the snake had to have been an enemy in her eyes. She said, thank goodness the snake didn't bite Mommy, because she probably would have been very sick. How do you know that? What?
Yeah. Yeah.
And so we allow fear to rule us oftentimes more than we do love, and more than we do truth and justice, because of the conditioning, not just what we see sometime in our homes, but in schools and colleges and social settings, things of that nature.
Yeah. Fear can create some stories in our minds. Even the story, we create our own stories due to fear in our relationships every day. And so much so that the mind completes the blanks. And if you're not disciplined, you will believe, even disciplined, you will believe the story that you told yourself.
What they say, ask the mind a question, and if it has no answer, it will make up 1,000.
It will. So in closing, I want to just close with a few things here, and we'll get closing terms, closing words, and again, this is just, we're going to talk about all types of myths, but I think again, we truly, fear is a driving factor to have to believe. It has us running around. It has us looking and seeking and not knowing that it's right there with you. And I say that not in a cliched way. It's like there's no information out there that can get you closer to the Creator than if you really sat with yourself and really reflected and went to that core place my dear brother was speaking about earlier. I'm not saying the information is not good. The metaphor can help you. But if you see it as something really more powerful than it truly is, you stunt your own development, your own thinking, your own ability. In fact, thinking becomes a problem. Because in many spiritual or religious tradition, I have a problem with people who think thinking is problematic. I'm sorry, when I mean thinking is not seen as spiritual. I think everything, thinking is just as spiritual as feeling. You know, like I mean, we literally in our circles. That's why I struggle with Eastern traditions. Even this non-attachment. Like, I mean, it's good. I think you can learn something from it, but it's just one side. Non-attachment. What do you mean? Non-attachment. It's like a non-attachment philosophy tells oppressed people you are the reason why you're oppressed. And I even struggle with this idea that you just have to go in even as well. Because to me, it has to be a both and. You can't do anything. Look, you have to connect with others. You also have to connect with yourself. And many of us are calling ourselves spiritual, and we are isolationists. And what is spiritual typically has to do with your connections with the past, the present, and the yet happened, yet unborn, the future. And I think that we struggle with what religion is, even when we call it spiritual. Again, we call things spiritual, but we truly just practicing religion. So in closing, Dr. Ben emphasized that religion is not divine fact, but cultural mythology of a people, stories told to shape values, behaviors, and worldview. When these myths are mistaken for historical reality or imposed as absolute laws, they become spiritual prisons. Together, their critique asks us, are we practicing religion? I'm talking about, let me just say, Dr. Clark and Dr. Ben's critique, when looked at together, are we practicing religion, or are we performing obedience to systems that never had our liberation in mind? And that goes back to that Eastern tradition. I don't think Eastern traditions are enough for people in a society, and I don't think any tradition is. I think our traditions should constantly be evolving. Like nobody had any more special powers than you have today. Nobody is like, I don't care if they're the ancient Cometians or the Cometans or however you want to call it, or the Hebrew. I don't care what language you learn. No, there's no language as spiritual as the one. I'm sorry, you speak English and you can be just as spiritual with your Ebonic version.
I'm real quick though. This will help me transition. I just thought about it because I was reading Dr. Ben's book, and he had, words can like change you just real quick. And his words said, "Who gives the bishops and the archbishops the right to say what's wrong or right?" Now that right there just set me free as I wanted to be. You understand what I'm saying? Me, I say, but that helped me go over transition for real without even looking back.
Yeah, who does that though? Right. I ain't think. Look, I think we nice. So today we're not gonna be as nice. Something like that. We can reflect on, and we're not free when we see religions. We're not as free as we can be. Let's say that if we see religions and our spiritual ideas as the ideas, the facts, the way of doing a thing, and the way of connecting with the universe.
That's called a cult when it's just that way.
So, key teachings. To be spiritual is not to have more answers, but to be more resolved in the unknown. I posit. We haven't become spiritual, we've become superstitious with culture. You are arguing about whose metaphor is more literal. Spirit doesn't care if your theology is tight. Spirit cares if your life is in truth. Last, don't just decolonize your rituals, decolonize your relationship to the mystery. Let mystery be mystery. How do you, it's not mystery once you know everything. There's a fear of the unknown, as Baba said. I mean, the Pope, whatever. What's his name? He was the Dalai Lama. I think we can grow, because I don't think the Dalai Lama has any, what's it called? I don't think he has any real estate on what's true and not true either. But I think we can become very uncomfortable with certain aspects of the unknown, especially these existential things. I'm not, like, for example, dying, death. I'm not afraid to die. I don't want to die right now. You know, I don't want to die right now.
All right, but you know what? Exactly. And this why I love this one, but I at the same time hate it. It say I didn't have time for death.
Yeah.
So death took out time for me.
Yeah. I mean, and I'm not fearful of going to hell. I'm not fearful of whether or not I agree with Jesus going, Jesus this and Muhammad that and whoever. To me, all of it is stories. You use the stories to shape your life. And Muhammad ain't no better than you. Jesus ain't no better than you. In fact, you might be a little bit more real than them.
But this is what I told a preacher one day, because I was cutting an elder hair, and he came there to see the elder. So he was looking at me like, what you believe in? You know, and we had a good conversation. Mm-hmm. And I told him about the Tibetan monks, some of them. They had to make a walk, and they had to walk, let's say, from here to DC. Mm-hmm. But they have to go like this. Now I say anybody can do that and does that. You can't tell him that he don't believe in what he believe in. So they go like this. Then they come back up. Mm.
Who was that? Oh. Some people don't believe what they believe in, but they know one thing: they can get some influence if they look like they believe in it. Because one thing I realize is theologians, I've been with plenty of them, and the reality is they don't look at this religion in the same. They don't look at the very religion they teach you in the same manner most of the time. It's because they went to school and studied that this stuff is this levels to understanding, like we talked about today. I was trained at Loyola. It was in their pastoral counseling program, and so we had to take theology courses. And there's something called 5 stages of faith. And when you get to that level, they don't literally believe these things. They say that you know there's concrete, and you believe it is because it is. You passed it down, and all. We'll go over that. But the thing is, they don't have to believe, but they know rituals are really powerful. They know that rituals can influence others, and they literally believe that and maybe there's some truth to it, that everybody can't eat that type of food, and they need to stay in La La Land a little bit. Bob, you got something?
Yeah, I was thinking about these Yaqui Indians. I believe that you should use death as an advisor. When you use death as an advisor, make sure that every act you do, you act as if it's your last battle on earth. It's just not an act, it's a power.
So anything in closing, family? Baba Bujamar, you got anything? Okay. So this was the beginning of the myth. We're going to talk about a lot of myths. And it's okay to have myths, but it's okay until it's not okay. It's okay to have stories that work for you, but when they no longer are working for you or serving you, it's time to examine those things, renew those things, and create a new way of moving forward. Because myths are breaking down our relationships with ourselves. Myths can break down relationships with our significant others, and it does. Myths have us doing things that's out of our minds that are abusive. You don't know how many people I work with that are literally by trying to stay in alignment with their myth. I'm going to call it myth on this side, their religion, their myth, that they actually end up abusing their children to be right by God. In any religion or any tenets of religion that have you abusing anyone to be right by God is not one worthy of being obeyed. Blessings. guess we can do some Harambe's and close on out.
Africa.
We're gonna put our hands in the air. We're gonna open our hands up. Again, we try to practice tradition here because Harambe means let's pull together. So as we're gonna go down 7 times, we'll go down 7 times, but I'm just going to motion how it looks. And you're gonna pull together, right? 7 times, and we're gonna end up at that 7th time with a Black Power fist. All right. All right. So 1, 3, 1, 2, 3. Harambe, 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 Harambe. And but between next week and next Sunday, Fridays, our dear brother, he's on 4th of July or 4th of July, baby. So brother Tyran, his birthday is 4th of July, so make sure we give him some love between now and then. And we'll see you all next week. I think Caramel was supposed to, yeah, but of course, Miss Mama Camille. She kept
Very superstitious writings on the wall. Very superstitious letters about to fall. 13-month-old baby broke the looking glass. 7 years of bad blood, you put things in your past. When you believe in things that you don't understand, and you suffer. Superstition is the way. Very superstitious. Wash your face and hands. Let me go the problem. Do all that you can. Keep me daydream. Keep me going strong. You don't want no saving. Sad is the song. When you believe